That's what I hope.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Okay.
Good evening, everybody. I'm so glad you can all make it here. Welcome to the 2023 Adonia Board Member Election Candidate Forum. Before we get started, I want to let everybody in the room know this is being recorded. The goal, as we are still trying to experiment with recording of meetings and such, the goal is to have this recording available to be listened to any of the members of our community who couldn't listen in live tonight or be here live tonight. If we can get it up and running, you should be able to listen to it all the way up until the day the ballots are due. So if your friends couldn't make it, let them know, hey, we're going to get that recording up and running so that everyone can be a part of this, right? The Adonia Metro District has 2 positions on the board that are up for election. Community members who wanted to be considered for one of the 2 openings filled out a self-nomination form and submitted it by the February 24th deadline. On their form, they selected which term they would like to run for, term ending May 2025 or the one ending May 2027. Only one community member chose the May 2025 term, so he is running unopposed and is not here for the candidate forum this evening. Tonight, we will talk with the candidates for the May 2027 term. As you may have seen on our neighbor network, the candidates are Antonio Jacobs Jr., Cornelia Isaac, and Saman Fatima Mehdi. I printed out the bios that Alexis had received by the deadline, and they're on the table out here in the lobby. I also have some more here on this table. Unfortunately, one was submitted late, and so it was not accessible to me. I had no way to print it out, but I do understand somebody said she put it up on the neighbor network. So if you guys want to go and look at that bio, it's available for you to see and meet her through her bio as well. Unfortunately, something unforeseen came up for candidate Saman Mehdi, and she is unable to be with us here tonight. We have a seat for her at the table in case she is able to make it at some point, and I will be writing down the questions you all ask so that if she joins us, we can give her an opportunity to answer them as well. So guidelines for the question. We're going to start. My name is Michelle, in case you didn't know me. Sorry, I should have started on that.
Gary.
And this is Gary. Gary and I will have a timer, and we're going to start with some of the questions that we are going to ask the candidates. The candidates will have 3 minutes to answer the question. The candidates, you will see a yellow card when you have at the halfway point, you have 1.5 minutes left, and a red card when you have 15 seconds left. When your time is up, please be respectful and end your answer. After the questions we have for the candidates, we will open it up to the community members to ask questions. Please keep your questions simple and to the point. We understand some questions need a little story or a back history, but we give you 1.5 minutes to ask your question. And so if you go over your 1.5 minutes, you'll have to go to the back of the line to ask your question later. No large multiple part questions, please. The candidates only have 3 minutes to answer, and if you ask a 5-part question, they're not going to be able to do that. It's not fair to them. We ask that you only ask 1 question. If you have more than 1, please ask the most important one. Move to the back of the line, which is sort of a paper line here. And when we get to the end, if there's time, we'll give you another chance to ask subsequent questions. Candidates, do you have any questions before we start?
I do not.
I'm
All
good.
right, here we go. I'm getting a timer.
We're switching roles.
All right.
Okay. So the first question, and this is, what attributes do you have that you think make you a good candidate for the board of directors?
We'll start with Toby.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, first and foremost, I'm very community oriented. I've got, like I said, a family of 5. I've been in Aurora for 30 plus years, so, you know, not exactly native, but I might as well be. But I'm here to, you know, I have leadership qualities from management experience. I have, you know, like I said, just a goal in mind here and a vision of what I want to see this community turn into. And I just want to be a part of that. My goal is to just simply be a part and a voice and help steer this in a way that I can be proud of living here, and I can have my kids be happy to be here, and I know it's safe for them to run around and just enjoy the experience. So that's pretty much my answer there.
Go ahead.
Okay. Some of the attributes that I have span a variety of things based on my professional experience as well as my personal experience. So I spent some time in the military, so I'm very organized. And I am willing to do what needs to be done to be a part of the team and to ensure that the team succeeds. When I'm thinking about my skills professionally now, I'm an HR professional. I have business experience. I have fresh thinking and fresh eyes when it comes to thinking about ways in which we can expand what it is that neighbors want to see happen within the community. I also have a family. My husband, Ben, is here. We've been married for almost 30 years. And so our kids span from 27 to 17. So I've seen a lot of ups and downs in neighborhoods, not just here in Adonia. We actually lived in Georgia for a while. I think that the skills that I'll bring also include some of the kind of pressure testing around like how are decisions made? Why are they made in this way? Is everyone on board with the decisions that are being made? Things like that. I also want to ensure that folks in our community are knowledgeable about what it is that the board does. So I think that I can be a vessel for communicating some of the board responsibilities and things like that.
Thank you. All right, we'll change it up this time and I'll have you answer first, Cornelia. What do you think is the number one thing that needs to be addressed, corrected, or worked on in our community?
From my perspective, I think it's how we communicate and whether or not things are transparent to all in various formats. I'm not sure if all community members are on Neighbor. I don't know if folks are on the Facebook message group, like just getting information and making sure that it's accessible in multiple formats is one of the things that I would like to kind of address or change. When it comes to making sure that folks know, like this, we have over 1,000 homes. And I've heard several times that, there's usually a core group of people who are at all of the meetings, want to try to really influence people to be a part of what's going on around here. So I would think communication would be the key lever for that.
And Bill?
It's hard to argue with that, tell you the truth. I mean, that's like that. It's really like, no, yeah, I mean, really to piggyback that, it really is communication. Like, she's right. Everybody doesn't know what's going on in this community. And there's times where, like, yes, if you're not on the Facebook page or on the neighborhood, or if you're not paying attention to it, you feel like you don't really know something's happening until bam, oh, there's an event, or oh, this is going on. And it's, yeah, there's got to be a better way, I feel, for everybody to be on the same page and to be able to participate and take part in everything that this community does, because you got so much crazy stuff and great stuff, and the programs they have are amazing. And so it's just, I wish everybody could benefit from that and know.
Forgive me.
No worries at all. Let's go.
How you doing?
But yeah, so just, I guess, yeah, just to go with that, it's just being able to really get us all together on the same page, maybe a neighborhood platform, something that we all can see it and everybody has a chance to just enjoy it.
Thank you.
All right. Do you feel like you could be open to the wants and needs of the community as a whole, even if it's not something you feel we want or need?
Me?
Yeah, we'll start with
Yeah. Yeah. I've just my background, I grew up just in different households, meeting different people. I didn't have a traditional like family background. I didn't live at home with my parents for most of my childhood. So yeah, I think I'm open to a lot of things. I mean, that's again, it goes with communication. My point of view isn't right most of the time. So no, I have no problem accepting other views, and that's what part of being part of the community is. I wouldn't want to live anywhere where it was always just how someone else had it, or it only went this way and other people's views weren't expressed. So yeah, I don't think I'd have any trouble whatsoever incorporating other people's ideas, even if I didn't agree with it. Again, family of five, I barely agree with half of them all the time. So, but yeah, I think I could do that.
Can I just clarify the question? When you say, can you read it again?
It says, do you feel like you could be open to the wants and needs of the community as a whole, even if it's not something you feel we want or need?
Who is the we? The board?
The community. If the community maybe proposes something
got
and you're just like totally against it,
I got you.
totally for it, yeah.
Yes, that's the short answer. I, like Tony, it's, I think about coalition building and I think about what it means to be community, and hearing other perspectives is one of the reasons why I wanted to actually sit on the board, is because not really sure if a variety of perspectives are actually have a seat at the table, so to speak. So yes, I am all for hearing from community members about different things that may be needed. And that is actually one of the things that I actually wrote in my platform, is just around innovation, just getting new ways of thinking and hearing from folks.
Thank you. Okay, again, we'll start back with you.
Okay.
How do you deal with conflicts, either written or verbal?
I think verbal conflicts, I have to take a deep breath and I have to remember like who I am and what I want to represent as a person first, and how I want to represent my family. I think that my background in counseling, really, I try to diffuse. That's usually the first thing that I do, is to really listen to hear what is coming up for people. Trying to go through a thought process with them around like, okay, this is what I heard. Is this what you're meaning? Like what type of solution are you looking for? Really trying to get at the root of what the conflict is. Written, I think I do well with written communication, because it actually allows me a chance to sit back and think about it and process it and try to figure out, okay, what needs to be said in this moment? If I recognize, okay, there's a little hostility here, making sure that I'm not meeting hostility with hostility, those kinds of things. But yeah, just putting people first, knowing that if someone has something that they're really passionate about, then that's just what it is. And I accept that and I recognize that, and I try to do my best at listening.
Thank you.
Yeah. So when it comes to conflict, yeah, I try to avoid it first and foremost, but when you can't, I mean, it goes back to communication. You have to, what is my, understanding, like, why am I even in a conflict? First and foremost, listening, like she said, I need to know, what you're actually saying, what you're actually upset about, before I can come to a solution as to, where we can, meet together and come to common ground and diffuse the situation. humor sometimes, I try to laugh it off. I try to, just get everything back to a common and calm ground. Written, I not so much care about because it's written. Like I said, I have time to take a look at it and really process in my head what that's harder to diffuse because you don't really understand. You're not really talking to the person they don't really understand it. That's why I don't like text conversations and trying to like read through emotion in text or conversations on Facebook, things like that. It's so much harder because you're not actually there listening or actively talking to somebody and getting that emotion and finding out exactly where you stand. So yeah, that's what I try to do. I'm very laid back and calm, try to diffuse it, a little bit of humor, try to really listen and figure out what we're arguing about and try to find a common ground.
And the next one's kind of a two-part question, so we might let you go over 3 minutes if you have to. How many hours a week do you feel you could dedicate to board matters? And if things happen, or would you be available in emergency type situations or at a short notice if we just needed board members? We had pool issues last year, and things happen. And would you be able to drop other things to dedicate time to these projects?
Is it on me? I
Yeah,
keep losing track here. So yeah, I work from home. I'm at home all the time. I'm probably home too much, to tell you the truth. So yeah, I have a very flexible job where if I needed to, I could drop and run and help out wherever I needed to be. So when it comes to hours, again, it's kind of what do you need me to do? I don't have a real limitation, not a lot of outside things pulling me away. So, and like I said, my job is super flexible, so I can move it and work the hours I need to.
Yeah, like Tony, I work from home. I am very privileged to be able to do that. And it's interesting, this hours question, because even my work, my daily job, there's a part of it that's a requirement where you devote so many hours to this or so many hours to that. And I really have a hard time tracking how many hours I do whatever the thing is, because I just do the thing that needs to be done. So I don't have a good hard fast, like, oh, it's going to be 10 hours or 20 hours. I have no idea. It is just going to be whatever is necessary.
It sounds about like everybody's job. Okay. This last question actually is pretty much just a yes or no question. I'm going to add a little teeny tiny piece to it. The question is, can you commit to attending board meetings in person every other month and any other special meetings needed by the community? And with that, because that's easy, yes or no, can you do that? Yes. The second piece of that question is, what homework have you done to study up on and fully understand what exactly a metro district is and what you're signing up for to be on the board of a metro district? Can you commit to coming to the meetings every other month and special meetings as needed? And what homework did you do to understand what this commitment for the metro district is?
Yes. So the answer is yes. The homework that I have done has ranged from reaching out to individuals, getting firsthand account of what it is to be a board member. It's been trying to research what each of these meetings are for, and finding my own, like Google research, finding my own information through those sources. One thing that I thought about, and I haven't done recently, I have not looked at the actual HOA guidelines in a long time. Like when we first moved here, I read through all of it because that's just what I do. I read everything. But I haven't looked at it recently. So that is something that I am committing myself to do regardless of the outcome of this, because I want to be in the know. But yeah, Google research, trying to figure out what these topics are. Talking amongst residents as well, getting information that way.
Thank you.
So again, yeah, the short answer, yes, I can commit to that. As far as homework goes, I can't really. I mean, I had some conversations with Bree, Jason about it. But to tell you the truth, other than kind of Googling, hey, what's the difference between HOA and Metro District? I haven't really done a lot of in-depth research on it and really tried to figure out what it is, because part of me wants to be kind of excited to find out, to learn this stuff, to see what the process is. I didn't want any preconceived notions of coming in and being like, oh man, I'm in for this, or oh, it's gonna be that. Like, walked in today, like, I have no idea what we're in store for, and I love that. It's something new. I love to learn and to process. So I know I'll, during this time period before elections, things like that, I know I'll be more into learning specifics. Probably, watching these videos. We have archives of the board meetings, things like that. But I haven't done much. I can't really lie and say I've done all this research, because I haven't.
Thank you very much. Okay, so that actually.
A few people walked in late, so if you do have questions, we have a sign-up sheet. Basically, you're in line. So put your name on.
No, you want to ask a question, you're not already on the list. You're on the list. Yeah. All right, and if as we go on with this next part of the evening, you think, oh, that makes me think of a question, you can of course raise your hand, we'll add it to the list on the line. If any of you are here today, we're at the last time we had one of these, this room was a lot more full and there were a lot more people wanting questions. And so I was attempting to organize it. We're a small, tiny little group here, so we're going to be a little less formal. But I will go in order, at least on the list. And to refresh your memories and those who just walked in, it's one question. We're going to go through and let everybody that has a question ask a question, and then we can cycle back through if you have a second question to ask. So one question at a time, and we'll get back to you when we're done with everybody's first shot. Dan, you're up first.
Thank you. I just want to say I really appreciate your willingness to serve on. I know I've served on many boards in my lifetime, my work lifetime, and it's a real commitment. Reading your bios, you both, in one way or another, talk about positive change. But you didn't say what positive change. So my question to you is, what change do we need? And why?
Want me to go first?
Is it on me? All right. So yeah, I mean, I've been in the neighborhood probably, I'm gonna say 2.5 years now, and just noticing the things that people complain about on like the Facebook page, and then those things, it all goes back to all of this dog walkers, or non-leash dogs, or we want chickens, or we want it all comes, and then people start arguing about it. So I feel, like I said earlier, communication in this neighborhood is just the biggest thing we need to start changing. How we communicate with each other, the forums in which we allow, we have these conversations. Getting into an argument over somebody walking their dog does us no good on Facebook. And half of us don't even see the argument anyway, but it becomes this big thing. And I mean, those are the things I notice when I'm just scrolling. I'd want to see it change to a more positive dialogue. Let's get over all these petty little gripes and things that don't really matter, and let's talk to each other like a neighbor would. Walk up to your neighbor, hey, I've got kids who play in this lawn, can you please keep your dog off of it? It's just communication. It doesn't take much. We're all human. we're all decent. Um, Most of us are all decent. And so you just have to, like I said, that's the positive change I would want to see, is just better communication with the neighbors so that it's more of a not a negative thing when you're looking on these social platforms.
The change that I'd like to see, there are a few things. When I think about our neighborhood and some of the ways in which we are represented as a community, I would like to see change in the representation, whether that is inclusion of different families. Like I said earlier, when I'm in spaces, neighborhood spaces, I generally see the same people over and over again. So I do want to expand our coalition within our community. I'd also like to hear from community members on the changes that they're asking for, why they're asking for them, and whether or not that's going to be a benefit to our community. So, Adonia is, I said this in my bio, it really is a great place to live. It's the best place that our family has lived, and we've been all over the country. So when I think about what is it going to take to create an environment that keeps building on its value, I want to see changes happen there. Like we were sitting in one of the meetings last week and we had kind of a discussion about like the actual clubhouse and like what could benefit with a revamp of how can we as a community benefit from revamping the clubhouse. Like I want to see value added to our neighborhood. I want to see our neighborhood actually come together in what Tony was talking about with respect to having forums to actually talk things through instead of social media, because you sit behind a keyboard, you can say anything, and even if your name's attached. So I want the positive experience that I've had and several of you have had to kind of just expand throughout the environment.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you. Okay, and I know that next in line wasn't sure he had a question, but do you have a question? Chris?
Trying to figure out the race.
Maybe why you think, or are you? Okay, and then is there anyone else that didn't get a chance to sign up here that would like to ask a question? Chris, you're up.
All right. If I don't frame this right, pardon me. How do you guys feel about the rules? And what I mean by that is, my biggest concern is someone wanting to come in and go, we need to change this covenant, and we need to change this. The reason I moved to here is because of the covenant. I want the rules because I like the value of my house, and it's what makes this a beautiful neighborhood. How do you guys feel about that?
Yeah, I told Tony when we were talking about the bios, I was like, oh, I put a headshot and you put a family picture. I am such a rule follower because I thought it was a headshot. So I am a rule follower. And I also interrogate the rule. I also want to know, why was that rule put in place? Who does it serve? Who does it benefit? Does it still serve us? And it's not that I would want to change rules. I definitely will ask questions. I will question it all day so that I have a firm understanding of what it is that I am being asked to enforce. So I am a rule follower. I agree with you that one of the reasons why we moved here was because it was a neighborhood environment and all of the things that came along with it benefited our family. And I also know that, like I said before, I haven't looked at them in a long time. I need to look at them again, to be honest, to really share with you whether or not I think that this is doing us a disservice, and here's why. What do you think? Open a dialogue around it, but I do not anticipate coming in just trying to change things. Not change rules, like change environment, change culture, change the way that we operate, sure. But the rules are the rules for now. And if there comes a time for us to interrogate why it is in place, I will be up for discussion on interrogating.
And yeah, I'm definitely not trying to come in here and change anything, as far as rules go. I agree, there's a reason they're here. I do agree having this community with rules does keep your property values up. You know, limiting things and regulating the things that can happen here. I'm all for it. But like Cornelia said, there does, you know, obviously things do change. There's going to be people who move in here who challenge the rules, who want to know why things are. And I am all up for discussion on hearing why you feel this should change and how this impacts you. But yeah, there's nothing in my head right now that says, oh, I need to come in and change that rule, or man, I wish our fences were taller, or, you know, like I don't have anything on my agenda that's, you know, we got to change something. So I'm definitely all for the rules, and I wouldn't try to take them away, that's for sure.
Thank you. Okay. Anybody else have any questions for our candidates? Yes, please.
For both of them.
Yes.
Thank you for being here. I really appreciate you coming to listen to the questions and answer them. One of the things that I always tell new people when I meet with people in our neighborhood is that the best way to know what's going on in the neighborhood is to attend board meetings or to attend a social committee meeting so that you're aware of what things are. Because this is a metro district, it's run maybe a little bit differently than an HOA, a homeowners association. And it took us coming to meetings for a long time to kind of understand how that all worked. So I'm not sure if I missed this or not. Have you been to very many of the board meetings to kind of see how they're run?
I have not actually been to a board meeting yet to see how it's run. So, like I said, that was part of the research I was thinking about doing, was looking back at the, you know, old videos and the archive of them and kind of see how they do run. And so yeah, that's definitely something I need to know.
Yes, I have been to some, not all. But yes, I've been to some board meetings. I've been to one of the social committee meetings. But yes, I've seen.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Has anyone else a question? Dan, go ahead. Question, maybe Cornelia gets this one first.
Yeah.
Mhm.
To piggyback on what Kathy said, I'm really disappointed in the turnout tonight. And I'm disappointed in the vote. We spent a lot of money as a metropolitan district to hold an election, and people don't care enough to vote. I'm really disappointed in that. So my question is, you talked about communication. I think one of the lack of communications that I see, I go to the board meetings and people the next day or whatever put it on Neighbor, and 2 weeks down the road, the same question that was asked or answered at the board, which is idiocy. So what are you gonna do to get attendance? Not only to the board meetings, but to get more people to vote. I think part of the thing, and I'm just words to the wise, part of the reason the attendance isn't great tonight is we didn't have a lot of time to prepare. it would have been really nice when it went out originally to have an agenda that people could say, okay, if I'm gonna get in, I have to have my paperwork in by such and such a date. I have to have my bio in by such and such a date. And then we're gonna have, I don't know if we're gonna have another forum or not, but we're gonna have a candidates forum on such and such a date. And I would, if it'd been really nice to know that 6 weeks ago when this all started. So in the future, we might consider that as board members.
So to refresh your memory, the question is, what are you going to do to increase attendance, both to like meetings and voting and other type of things?
I agree with what you said. My experience as a candidate was, oh, there's an election. Oh, I could actually be a part of this. Oh, okay. And then not finding out how many other candidates there were until whatever time it was. And then we found out about the forum, but then it wasn't put on social media. So yes, I wholeheartedly agree that that could have gone out a lot smoother, and within enough time that people can actually come to meetings. One thing that I've just put together this week was the fact that it seems like these are regular cadence meetings on certain days of the week. I don't know that people know that. So just the educational awareness about how the board functions, how our community functions with these regular standing meetings. It's going to be word of mouth, social media. It's, hey, can you tell 2 friends to come with you? It like grassroots efforts. It's a variety of things that I think are going to need to be kind of put in place, and things that I'm willing to do. Like even here, I thought there were going to be more people as well. So, you know, there's also this piece about due diligence. If we do our due diligence to get the word out and spread the news, I can't be responsible for other adults. Adults are going to make decisions for themselves. And I know it's disappointing. And I think the way that we kind of bring that kind of full circle so that they're actually participating is to really show how they can be involved. And that's through, you know, communication.
So yeah, just so to your point, exactly. I kind of, as a candidate, was just like, oh, it's happening, and that's happening, and this is how it's done. And there wasn't very much instructions for us as to, you know, what to expect and what's going on. So I can understand how the community itself, who didn't elect to join, might not have any idea that we're even here right now. And it goes all the way back to just the communication and the way this neighborhood, I mean, when the pool opens, everybody knows when that happens, and the function and the turnout is great there, but we got the mailer, we get 6 emails coming up, it's coming up, it's coming up. I feel for this, it was just, I got a couple emails, but I didn't see it really going out to the whole neighborhood until this week, like when we put our bios in, and that's when they were like, oh, hey guys, we're having a vote. And here's the bios for the people who are running. And if you want to come and see them, there's a forum today. So I feel like, yes, that should be, again, I hate to keep saying it over and over again, but the biggest thing we need to change is just how we communicate what's going on in this neighborhood to the important people in this neighborhood, which is everybody who needs to know. Because you're right, if they knew, well, it goes back to knowing what a board does. You know, if people knew what we did here, and you know, how important, what that could really affect in the community, then they would feel it was more important to be here for these decisions. And the only way to get that out is to be able to communicate that and show what we do and the decisions that they make and what actually was affected. So like you said, a week later, someone's not asking the same question that we covered here and made a decision. So People have to know how to have their voices heard. And like I said, I'm even new to this, but this is why I'm running. I need to be a part of that. And yeah, that's the change I'm trying to affect.
Thank you.
Has anyone else, who hasn't asked a question yet? Reed?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll go to Kathy next.
Sorry. If you're elected to the board, in your mind, what is the first thing that you personally would like to bring up, take hold of, and make a change? Because yes, we do it as a board, but if you've been to a board meeting, individual people take the reins on certain items. So what is your idea that you think can be done that you would like to create an impact on in the community?
Go ahead, Tony.
Is that, oh, that's a cool, interesting question. I think the first thing I would want to do is try to figure out a platform for the community to be able to communicate. I mean, that's really what it is. Like, to start the changes, we have to be able to get the word out to people we want to join us in these endeavors, in this decision. The community has to come together. So that would be the first thing I wanted to try to affect. However I could think of to do that, if I have to go knock on doors, hey, I'll do that. I have no problem. I've canvassed before. I can do it again for important matters. And it's just, that'd be the first thing I wanted to work on, is trying to figure out what we could do as a community to make sure everybody was on the same page.
Yeah, I have two answers.
Go forward.
So the first answer was, I would really want to sit as a member of the board and at least like just try to figure out what goes on from this perspective. Because sitting in the audience is different, and trying to figure out like the vibe of the people and how do we best work together. And oh, it's okay for me to say, hey, I really want to take this on, and just try to figure things out first. That's the first answer. But the second answer would be, it would be around transparency. It would be around, how do we create the conditions so that the community members understand all that there is to understand about board functioning, operations, when decisions are made, why they're made, what's the decision-making process, all of that behind the scenes context, which is around the education of, the board. And I really do believe that when people understand that their $145 a quarter is going towards this, and here's why, I think they'll be more invested. So, maybe me and Tony can partner. I don't know. I really don't know. So,
Oh, did you have one, Maria? You're after her, okay, perfect.
My question is for Bree. Can you tell how many people are zoomed in?
Yeah,
I mean, is it 20 or 30 or?
no, it is.
5 or 6.
It's there's 7 people on the Zoom, they're all muted. And they can hear, and then we'll hopefully get the recording up, but there are participants on the Zoom.
Because the last meeting that we had with Zoom, there were at one point, and I was one of them, there were 35 people. And I thought, well, maybe it's not well attended personally or in here, but there might be 35 people on Zoom, but.
And that's another question that I have at the end. I'll answer that, February, so.
I'm gonna let you ask the question, but I am gonna say something really quick, and hopefully people on Zoom can hear this. If you're on Zoom and you've got a question, I know we don't have a way to let you ask it. But if you know of somebody in the room that is here and you want to text it to them, please do, so that they can stand up and ask your question. And maybe that's what happens with Maria, I don't know.
Three?
Maria, your turn.
No Zoom chat?
We are not doing Zoom chat or video just yet.
Okay.
We're working on it. We're working. Baby steps here.
It was crazy at the wheel of gas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Your question next.
My question is really regarding the finances that this community does. As someone mentioned here, that's $145. But if you add how much this Metro Board gets for the district, our home alone is well over $1,500. So if you look at the last event, that was for adults. People were charged $50. In addition to that, our community paid $150. So in essence, 10 couples, 20 people attended. So it benefited only less than 5%. How is that fair for the people who pay?
Why is there anything about fair?
Okay,
Yeah.
she's asked her question, I'm sorry, she's asked her question.
Thank you.
Why would you need to interject?
Why? Why do you think everything?
Why do you think you get to interrupt her question, which is?
I don't care.
So, okay,
Okay.
so I think the question is about fairness of like the funds that we pay already in homeowners dues versus when there is a social event, having to pay an additional fee. Am I hearing that correctly?
People just think it's $150 that we pay it for. For in actuality, the funds all get funneled in together and then it goes to different committees. When the person starts adding up the numbers, how many people participated in this, how many people participated in that? That's $200 that we spent for 20 people.
I got you.
150 came from taxes.
I got you.
Now, unless that's different, then I would like to see so I could get rid of this money.
I don't know the information. Like I just, full transparency, I don't see the books. I don't see any of that. I think as a candidate for this position, what I'm advocating for is more awareness of where money goes, period. Whether it's a contract for the tree renewals, if it's, oh, social committee is allocated this much money for this portion, what can we actually do with this? Because I'm also aware that because we live in this neighborhood doesn't necessarily mean that everyone in this neighborhood is of the same socioeconomic status as well. And so I want to ensure that there are events available for a variety of people, no matter what the charge is. But I'm not even sure if the social committee and the board, like, if they're connected. I don't know. I don't know if the social committee gets what it is that they, like, their charge from the board. So I'm not sure if that's a board matter or a committee matter, and that's something I would have to look into.
And yeah, kind of to echo that, I have no idea how the funds are allotted at this point and how they're supposed to go, what we're supposed to be charged for, but what I know is we all decided to live here and we pay the dues that we pay, and they put on quite a few events for a variety of different people. So I mean, it's. If you choose to take advantage of living in this neighborhood and you're going to go to the events you choose to go to, but. I mean, I'd have to, again, I don't have enough information to really educatedly answer that question for you. But in my opinion, just to say, when it comes to your question was, how is that fair to everybody? But we all chose to live here and we pay the dues that we pay, and the rules are the rules. And if you choose to go to an event, however that event is sponsored is how it is at this point in time. I'd love to find that out and I get those answers and then communicate that so that someone like yourself would know then and not worried about, where are all these funds going, or, like Cornelia said, the transparency, and that is definitely something that needs to be out there. But that's the best way I guess I can answer that at this point.
You guys are consistently taking a minute and a half every time. I'm like, how did you play that? My goodness. Yes, sir, my apologies. I don't know. David, thank you.
My
David.
question would actually just be more tied to common space. That's really all I care about. But, so I just kind of would like to see how you would convert ourselves into what's happening with the city, with our drought and so on. How do you look at zero scaping in common space? So, what would your vision be?
Oh, do I? Nice. Like as far as zero scaping the common spaces, I mean. For me, I have 3 kids who use all of these parks, and so I haven't really researched it enough to know what that would do to, does that actually save us enough money versus, I guess the aesthetics of, what that would look like. Can you really still hold all the events that we hold on, turf or park or whatever we would be, transforming that to. But part of the reason I moved here, I love the parks. I love the green grass. So I don't know how much I would be on board with trying to change that. But again, I'm open to hearing what you have to say. If you've researched something more than I have and a better way, or you have an opinion on it, I'm definitely open to listening to that. But I guess I haven't actually thought about it enough to at this point say, oh, I'm hard set on this, or I care about that. I care that my kids have a safe place to play and run around, and right now they do. So, I don't feel the need to change it, but if for some reason it's impacting the community, if we are losing money by having it, if there is a concern about it, I'm definitely open to hearing about it and seeing what we can do.
Yeah, I would have to agree. Like in my bio, the parks on every corner is actually what drew me to the neighborhood. So if there's a reason why, as a district, we need to actually move towards more xeriscaping, I would need to know why. I would need to know what that has to do with, like, how does that improve our property value? How does it decrease the property value? It might be saving us with water and all of those things. So like just trying to balance those things. I don't have enough information to say one way or the other. But definitely open to hearing whatever the argument is for or against.
Are you talking about parks, or are you talking about the border of the meeting? Well, actually, the question was for them. No, I was just wondering which one you were concerned with. Well, 06 push because we're still in the drought. Right. So what I'm saying is, it's probably going to be pushed at some point. And when you xeriscape, you're not xeriscaping play areas, you're xeriscaping common areas. Like when I take the dogs for
Right.
things like that. And so sooner or later it's going to be pushed towards us, because even though Denver is technically not in the drought, we're clearly in the drought still. And I don't see it changing anytime soon with our current weather patterns. So I think the change is going to be pushed more. It's going to be. So are we going to be early adopters?
Do you have a follow-up question that go well on this? Okay, thank you for clarifying. I appreciate that. I want to make sure that we don't run out of time. If anybody else has any questions they want to ask, because anybody received a text from a Zoom person that they're like, hey, ask this question. I want to make sure that if you have something you want clarified by our candidates, you have everything you need in order to make your vote. Go right ahead, Dan.
One more question. I think we've seen tonight the importance. I know you hit on that 2 or 3 times about the importance of being here. You're asked to attend a board meeting 4 times a year. We know exactly when those dates are going to be, so you can plan your schedule. But that's probably only 20% of the time you're going to have to spend as a board member. An important 20%. Do you have the time, that 80% time? Because I'm assuming that you're going to be here on all the board meetings. I would hope so. You have a board member that I've been to a lot of meetings, never seen him. And I think he should have resigned. My opinion. You know, if you're not going to be here for people to meet you and talk to you, you should do the favor. So are you willing to do that? Both attend and or resign?
Short answer, yes. And I would anticipate, like, coming to the board members, like I see Bree, she has her binder and she has all these papers. And so, yeah, I would assume that there's pre-work before the board meeting and maybe some meetings before the board meeting. And yes, I anticipate that I'm going to be able to do that. I also want to find out from the board and others, you know, are there other spaces where board members are available? Because you said, you know, showing up to the board meeting in order for people to see you and kind of meet with you. There isn't a lot of dialogue that happens at the board meeting. And I'm curious if there is a space outside of the board meeting where board members can actually come and hear from others and have conversations in that kind of forum. So yes, I'm willing to do those things.
And yes, I'm committed to not only coming to the meetings, but that's a big part of why I wanted to join this and to be able to start meeting the community and getting out there and communicating with people. So yeah, I have no problem with the other 80% either. I have no problem being on call for emergencies like we answered earlier. Like I work from home still. So yeah, getting out into the community, getting to the functions, meeting people and hearing what's really going on out there is a big part of why I'm running to begin with. And yes, if I did find myself for some reason not being able to serve as I want to, then yes, I would definitely resign so that someone who can.
All right. Anybody else? I sat up here thinking of questions and every single time I did, somebody would ask them. So I'm like, you guys are very thorough. I very much appreciate your interest. Anything, anybody indicating they want to say anything?
No chat online.
Well, I know there isn't a chat, but like, they have your number. Did anybody text you?
Waving at the camera.
Right.
Right, I do have one more question.
All right, by all means, your
Just
turn.
one. I think it came up. So when you guys are talking about communication and how there's a lack of people here and a lack of people at the board meetings, but like when we did the oil and gas meeting, we had 38 people on Zoom. When we talk about the pool opening, like you said, yeah, people got 3 emails about this or 4 emails about this, about, you know, signing up for your candidate. So, but when those pool emails go out, like everybody knows about it, right? Do you think that this community is more in tune with the things that are important to just them? And not as a community as a whole, and how are you gonna try and fix that?
It's me, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Make sure. All right, so yes, the short answer, people are in tune to what's important to them, but I think that goes back to them not really knowing what the board does and how it really does affect them in their lives. And the decisions that are made here and how that truly affects them out there. So yes, I think that, so yes, so while they are more in tune with those, you know, fun things and things that they actually care about, we need to try to get them to care about what goes on in this community, and that they won't know until they know. I mean, until people know, I have no idea. And I'm running to find out. Like, I have to know what goes on in this neighborhood and how that really affects everybody in it. And the more we get that out to people, the more people will start to see the board meetings as important as the pool opening, and that, you know, these forums and just jumping even onto Zoom, even if you're making dinner while you're doing that, is still as important as making sure you're here for the DJ. So yeah, it's all about transparency, communication, and just getting the word out so they understand. And that's what I feel is really not happening right now. I don't think they understand the other stuff.
Yeah, I would agree. I think, when you ask the question, like, are people just more in themselves? I mean, I think yes. I also think that it's almost like there needs to be a campaign around the community, a campaign about Adonia, right? And when I think about that, I think about ways in which we can help to inform people, which builds investment and hopefully inclusion, right? So beyond personal needs, what is it about living here in Adonia that creates a broader sense of community, not just physical community, but emotional community with one another? And I think that comes from an understanding of who we are as people, as individuals families, things like that. So really getting into spaces with folks where they feel like they're invested in not just the pool opening, but the board meeting. And here's why. Like, here's the benefit to me in this situation. So really pointing those things out with all of these different events is going to be important.
Sorry, I'm gonna stop. Right. Okay, anybody else have any more questions? I know, if you're like me, you're gonna get home and go, I should have asked that question. You all know that you're gonna get a ballot in the mail. If you've lived here for more than a couple of years, we went through this not too long ago. This is actually what it looks like. It looks just like an official ballot for any government election. You didn't know, the Metro District is a pseudo government entity. I have this one because my child's in the military. It's an absentee ballot, but this is what it looks like, guys. It comes, it says, do this, sign here, put this in here. Here's the candidate's names on there, put it in the envelope. You have to mail it? No, you can drop it off. There's an address right in here that you can actually take it to. Do you have to physically take it, or if your neighbor says that way, can they take it? So they can. One person can take up to 10 ballots and drop them off at the attorney's office.
Maybe at one time.
Right.
We can go back and do multiple times.
If you really want to drive all the way down there, you go right in. I'm only going once. I did drop mine.
Not convenient.
I like, yeah, you gotta get out, walk through this thing and go there. But anyway, I want to make sure it got there. This is important to me, just like you expressed. We get invested in the things that are important to us. I noticed that there's a hot button issue. All of a sudden, the attendance at a meeting goes way up. So this is important, folks. This is your voice. This is your chance to say, I want individuals to represent me in these meetings. But you know what? You can represent you too. Come to the board meetings, guys. Come be at the social events. I don't have any little kids in this neighborhood. Do I go to the egg hunt? Yes, I do. Do I go to the events? Yes, I do. Because that's my community. I want to meet my friends. I want to meet my neighbors. So Get your ballot, put in your vote. If you guys have any questions, guess what? They all live here. I bet you can find a way to reach out and go, hey, I kind of have a question. What do you think? And I so appreciate everybody's time, especially after this. Like I said, something very unfortunate came up and we are short one person today. Please take some time and see if you can reach out and get to know her, because everyone deserves a chance to have their voice heard and pick who they want to represent them. Do you guys think of any other questions in the next couple seconds?
I have a follow-up question.
Yes, my dear, your turn to ask a question.
When are those ballots due?
May 2nd.
They have to be postmarked by May 2nd, or they have
Let
to
me read it. I actually didn't read it very
They will
closely.
be received by 5 p.m.
Affidavit of voter.
received in the office?
To be counted, your voted ballot must be postmarked no later than 7 p.m. U.S. Mountain Standard Time on the day of the election, May 2nd. Voted ballots must be in the hands of the election officials no later than the close of business on the 8th day following the election, May 10th. You hand drop it off, it has to be there by the day of the election, 2nd of May. You postmark it by the 2nd of May, it has to get to them by the 8th. You trust the US Post? It's back to me.
Yeah. Okay.
You all see the messages on our mail. And for anybody who hasn't met him, this is Stacy, he's our running unopposed gentleman I spoke of earlier. Nobody wanted to have the 2-year term except for him, so we are voting on the 4-year term amongst these folks here. Was that your only question?
That was it.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
And just-
Meeting-
One more thing, 2 weeks from today, on April 4th, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., there's gonna be a town hall, right here at the clubhouse. Aurora Deputy City Manager, fire, police, and public works people will be here. If you have any questions about what's going on in the city, this is the time to do it. Police issues, fire issues,
Response times.
yeah, anything. This is the time to come, but you must make a reservation. And on the neighbor network, there is a, what do they call those things?
The sign.
Yes, QR code.
QR code, that's it. You can make your reservation because we're expecting a lot of people for this. And if you don't have a reservation, you will not be let in because there's a limit of how many people can be in this clubhouse.
What's the limit?
I don't know.
The stamp.
Yeah.
It's 2 weeks from today. It's April 4th at 6 p.m.
Register on the neighbor network site. Okay, folks, thank you so very much
Yes.
for your time tonight.
Thank you.